Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and as you guys know, if you want to become an investor, then you gotta learn from the best. And usually the best might not even be alive anymore. Or for example, the best might be busy and might not give you the time of day. But in reality, you can find a ton of information in the books they actually read to actually lead you on that same path. So today I'm gonna give you guys 10 investing books that every single investor has to read if they want to become a successful investor. And by the way, guys, ever since I was a kid, teenager, also an adult now, the answer is I always look for shortcuts and how to get to places. And people say, hey, you know what, Tommy, there are no shortcuts. It just takes hard work. But in reality, that's false. That's not true. The shortcuts in life come from basically reading books. When you read a book, basically, you get all the information it took years for that person to figure out. You get it condensed in one book, and that way, that right there is the shortcut. Books or the shortcut. So that's why I'm giving you guys 10 shortcuts to go out there and achieve financial freedom and also become investors at the same time. That's the whole idea here. Books are shortcuts, okay? It's not the hard work, it's actually the simple work. Get information from someone that did all the hard work. That's the core idea. Now, if you guys are new here, I post videos every single day, so make sure to also subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. On top of that, also destroying the like button. Now, disclaimer here, guys. If you read all these books but don't practice it, it won't do you any good. Information without practice is trash. It doesn't do you any good whatsoever. On top of that, some of these books will actually prevent you from going out there and being a stock picker, because in reality, that might not be what's actually best for you. So keep that in mind while going through this entire list and figuring out exactly what you actually want to read. And also, every single book was organized from which book you should read first to which book you can actually go ahead and read last. Everything is organized that way. It's beginner friendly, and the more you read, the more educated you actually become. Now, the very first book is called The Little Book About Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. Now, this book I actually didn't want to read initially, but in reality, it was one of the best books I ever read, because basically I didn't like the common sense thing, okay? I was like, what do you mean common sense, okay? But this book is by far one of the best investment books out there. Now, in this book, the whole idea is, hey, what are the two main types of investors and which one do you actually want to be? Here are the pros and cons. Now be honest with yourself and say, hey, do I want to be this one or do I want to be that one? Now, the two types are basically, A, investors who want to go out there and beat the market, and B, investors who just want to get the average of the market, and that way they don't have to do a ton of work. B obviously is a lot more passive. A is, for example, speculators, value investors, and on top of that, especially actively managed funds. Okay, now the idea is this, okay guys, if you're a speculator, you're gambling, and if you're investing into an actively managed fund, well, they have a lot of taxes and also a ton of fees, and in reality, most of them are not beating the market, and in reality, that is not the best thing to do. However, if you do value investing like Warren Buffett, well, the truth is that you have to sit down and read every single day between 5 to 6 hours worth of financial statements to figure out exactly what investments you're actually going to go ahead and make next. That work is tedious. It is hard work. It is not that fun at all. But in reality, if you want to become a value investor, you have to learn how to value a business, compare it to its market price, and then go ahead and invest and hold on for the long term. That's the core idea. However, if you want to be more passive and don't want to do all that work, well, this book tells you, hey, go ahead and invest into low-cost index funds. That way you get the average of the market, but it does not take you that much work at all. And all you have to do is just sit and passively invest money, and in the end, you will have a ton of money. $500 invested in 30 years should be like around $1 to $2 million, okay? That is the core idea. And it only takes you like around 1 to 2 hours to set up, but then after that, all the work is done. So now, this book is all about, hey, which investor do you want to be? And by the way, Jack Bogle is the founder in some way of Vanguard. So he's not like just anyone. No, he's the guy, okay? He's the guy you want to learn from. Now, book 2 is A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burton. Now, this book right here, guys, is very controversial in the financial community or whatever, right? Because this guy, he's not that nice with the way he says things. He's very honest, very flamboyant, and says it how it is. Now, by the end of this book, this guy's basically exposing the entire industry. Stock analysts, stock pickers, everyone out there that says, hey, I know what I'm doing, but in reality, they don't know what they're doing. So by the end of this book, you'll be able to go ahead and spot all the scams that you basically want to avoid when it comes to the stock market. For example, hey, I'm a day trader, I make money. In reality, 80% lose money. And the people that make a lot of money are basically making money by selling you ideas on how to basically make money. They're not making a lot of money out there. Also, people that say, hey, I know how to analyze a stock chart, okay? No, you don't, okay? The odds of you actually doing that are very, very low. And again, it's random. It's not as clever as you actually think it is. And on top of that, cryptocurrency and all this currency stuff, in reality, he goes back in history to show you exactly how those type of currencies actually turn out and why they started out in the first place. In reality, it's kind of like a book that shows you the reality of investing and how everything actually works, what's real, what's not real, and how people basically investing in a certain way are just randomly gambling. And that's all it is, okay? I highly recommend this book. And by the way, the author of this book is actually on the board of Wealthfront, which is also an investment firm. Now, book 3 is One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. Now, Peter Lynch, by far, has one of the most entertaining books in finance, in my opinion. And by the way, the guy is an awesome teacher, and I actually like the way he teaches a ton. Now, this book teaches you the fundamentals of investing and what to look for when it comes to investing. And basically, whenever you hear about something in Wall Street, usually it means, hey, don't invest, okay? Because it's basically way too late for you to actually go ahead and invest because you want to be early. And by the way, Peter Lynch has one of the best track records in history, to the point where if you invested $10,000, he was actually in Fidelity for like 13 years. In reality, he would have turned that money into around $280,000. The guy is legendary. And in reality, he retired because basically he wanted to spend more time with his family, which in reality is a great thing. So I highly recommend this book. And by the way, again, it's a very good, entertaining book on investing, which usually the fundamentals, but most importantly, it does not dive deep into accounting, how to analyze correctly, and all that stuff, because basically it's just a beginner book. It's not supposed to be that. It's just a book for beginners to understand exactly what to look for when it comes to investing in the stock market, and also what not to look for. But it's awesome, and I also highly recommend this book right here if you're just getting started. That's why it's number 3 on my list. Now, book 4 is this one right here, and it's actually Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Philip A. Fisher. Now, this guy right here is the grandfather of investing. And by the way, in every single book, usually you're going to see a quote by Warren Buffett, because basically Warren Buffett is like the great example of all these teachers of what happens to you if you basically follow the rules of all these grandfathers, in a sense, right? All the masters of investing that came way before all of us. Now, in this book, guys, you'll find a checklist of 15 things to look for whenever we're actually going ahead and buying a stock. Now, the idea is that basically this checklist tells you, hey, here is what you want to see in this checklist, okay? Here's what you want to see in the stock. And if a lot of these things are missing, usually means, hey, don't go ahead and invest. And by the way, this book, again, is not a book on accounting or formulas or this complex idea, none of that stuff, right? It's just a checklist on the common way to actually go ahead and invest money. And by the way, most books of investing are not going to teach you everything about, hey, here's exactly how you analyze this thing, because basically investing is 80% basically just information and analyzing it, and then only 20% on formulas and stuff like that. But in reality, it's mostly just a checklist, a 15-point checklist on how to figure out if the company is good or if the company is bad. And by the way, by this point, you know basically, hey, investing into a stock is not like a stock, right? It's a piece of a company, and you have to understand the company itself. If it's good, great. If it's not, don't invest in it just because it's basically a lot of hype behind it. Again, Philip A. Fisher is basically one of the grandfathers of investing. And a lot of what we have today is because of this guy right here, okay? So this guy right here is basically top 3 when it comes to investing. So keep that in mind. Now, book 5, according to Warren Buffett, is basically the best book on investing ever made and how to actually get started in investing. This is the book that basically went from, hey, here's all the psychological stuff, to now, hey, here's how you actually work everything. Here's the formulas. Here's how everything actually works and what you're actually looking for. It's a perfect how-to starter book to get into investing. And that's why Warren Buffett gives a lot of success to reading this book right here and finding out about Benjamin Graham. Now, the core idea is this, guys. In this book, you will learn about 3 main proponents, which is basically how the stock market works and how you should treat it. On top of that, how an investor should actually go ahead and think, and also how to go out there and value a company correctly. And those three main points are basically the most important points in the entire stock market. And by the way, Warren Buffett also says, hey, the big thing in this book is basically about Mr. Market, how Mr. Market is, and how you should ignore the volatility of the market. Volatility is basically having a stock go up and down, but that does not equate to risk. So keep that in mind. And by the way, when you read this book, a lot of things will click or will not click. But by this point, you'll understand exactly the way Warren Buffett thinks and where a lot of his ideas basically come from. And by the way, guys, although this book is great and the ideas still hold up until today, you have to understand that this came from a guy that was investing during the Great Depression, meaning it was a lot of liquidations going on. And you understand what I'm saying when you basically read this book. But the idea is that this way of investing is great. But basically, a better way is, hey, you learn this, but you use this to go out there and buy good companies at fair prices. Don't buy crappy companies at a discount. In the end, that will not work out when you have a bunch of money, but in the beginning, it will make you a ton of money. So this book is still very, very applicable to today's industry. Now, books 6 and 7 are more simple books that I want you to read before you actually start reading the Bible of investing, which I will tell you in a few minutes here. But the idea is that this book right here is on the interpretation of financial statements. Now, this book will teach you exactly how to go out there and read financial statements. Now, Tommy, that's simple stuff. It's just accounting. It's just balance sheets, cash flow statements, income statements. Well, in reality, it's not that simple, because businesses are not stupid and they take every advantage possible to have them paint a picture to something that's not actually correct. So this book tells you, hey, here is what you look for, especially with corrupt accounting like the one we actually have today. And that's why Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are always complaining about the accounting fundamentals that we actually have today in our system. So this book teaches you, hey, here is what you look for. Here's what you analyze, and here is what you basically ignore. This book will teach you that. On top of that, this book right here, Benjamin Graham on Value Investing, will teach you the lessons of value investing and also give you a background on Benjamin Graham and how everything works. And by the way, again, Warren Buffett is right up here again saying, hey, I highly recommend you check out Benjamin Graham. I love Benjamin Graham, okay? Benjamin Graham is basically, again, the grandfather of investing. It's him, Philip Fisher, and then after that, I'm going to have to give it to Warren Buffett, okay? But those two usually come first on my list. Now, once you're done with that, guys, okay? Once you're done with all those books, if you still want to invest and it's still clicking for you, well, here is where the Bible of investing comes into play. This is called Security Analysis by Benjamin Graham and David Dodd. Now, this book right here is thick. It's a big boy, okay? And this book contains a ton of examples on how to go out there and analyze businesses. Now, by this point, you're no longer a beginner. This is when you actually get into the how-to of everything, where basically they take you through example and example and example on how to go out there and analyze businesses. And by the end of this book, well, you have to practice, right? Because basically, you have a lot of information you are actually going to need. But again, remember, when investing, it's important to understand sometimes it's good to actually go ahead and invest into a good company at a fair price. You're not always going to get a massive discount, but always look for a margin of safety. And by the way, this book also comes with a CD, which I don't know what to do with just yet, but it is awesome. And I am starting to read it right now. But the answer is, these two books by far are the most important ones right here, okay? And also this one right here. Well, in reality, it's all three of these. If you want to read about investing and just get to the grit of it and the meat of it, this right here will lead you there. But in reality, I don't recommend you dive into it that quickly, because basically you need to understand some fundamental ideas of how investing works and then get into that. That way you understand exactly, hey, here's where all the ideas basically come from and everything starts to connect. Now, guys, those are 8 books I recommend you actually go ahead and read. But I promise you guys 10. And in reality, the last 9 and 10 and 11, I have a bonus for you. It's not really about just investing, but it is important. And that's why I'm actually mentioning it here. Now, number 9 is basically The Millionaire Next Door. Now, this book will teach you exactly what a true millionaire looks like and how to stop paying attention to the media. And basically, hey, a millionaire has gold chains, has a big car, big house. In reality, that's not true. It'll change your perspective and you'll understand exactly why Warren Buffett lives in the same house, drives the same car, and all that fancy stuff. Now, book 10 is basically Sam Walton, Made in America. Now, Sam Walton is basically the creator of Walmart. Now, this book feels like, hey, my grandfather is teaching me everything about investing or basically building a business and how everything basically works. This book is very, very important for investors. It teaches you the value of starting a good business and how to treat people. Very important. Now, number 11 is basically The Richest Man in Babylon, and it will teach you everything about personal finance. The Richest Man in Babylon. And also, an extra bonus one is The Compound Effect, all about how to compound basic success, your income, and everything. These books, around 12 books so far, right, will teach you everything you need to know about your mentality and also a how-to guide and how to go out there and invest. But basically, the holy grail is this book. But it's not that simple to understand, and that's why I have you take a journey to get to this book. The big boy, okay? Guys, that's about it, or big girl if you're into that. And guys, that is about it, okay? I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. And on top of it, if I missed the book, comment down below, let me know, and I'll get to work. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. As always, if you like the video right here, guys, well, like this video. On top of that, also, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. And if you want to text me or talk to me one-on-one, join my Patreon, link down below, or send me a DM on Instagram at TommyBryson. And before I go, if you want to watch a full video on how I invest today, basically the average way with index funds, here's that video right here. Click it for now. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.